What is going on, guys? Artist Touch Painting, as always, your favorite artist, Jesse, back with another video. What we like to do here is help painters grow their businesses and help the do-it-yourselfer get the job done right. Today we're talking about filling green in cabinetry or anything, but in this instance it's oak cabinetry. I come across a lot of clients that have oak cabinets and they want to update them, and they're always asking about filling the green. So that's what we have for you today. I'm going to feature two products and the process that I'm going to use that I have actually just learned about, and it's going to make life a lot easier as far as the application. If you're familiar with, you know, the standard of filling green, you know, with putty knives and filling the green like that by hand, this might be a surprise to you. So if you're interested, stay tuned and find out what I'm talking about. Alright guys, so today we're talking about filling the green in cabinetry, like oak cabinets like this. I have a whole set over here that's already started. This one we've already primed with shellac, sanded, wiped down with tack cloths and degloss and all that stuff. And this is just a sample that I have just to show you guys, you know, what it looks like before with all this deep green in here. You know, I do like the look of cabinets painted properly and leaving the green open. I think it gives it some good character, but a lot of people are trying to modernize their cabinetry, and they want to know if they can fill the green and how smooth you can get it. So far I haven't found a way to fill 100%, and even if you do get all of the green and the pores filled in the wood, you can still see the waves of the actual wood itself, the texture. That's never really going to go away. If it's in the budget, you can have your clients get new doors, but that can start to add up depending on the type that you're getting, and then you're still left with the cases that, if they're also oak, you can still have that green on there too. So maybe you can find a good middle ground. But today, I'm going to use a new product that I learned about. It's from Sher-Wood, from Sherwin. It's a natural wood green filler, and it's easy to use because it comes in a pre-paste form, and you can also thin it out a bit. And if you want to thin it out and do it by hand, you can use your Bondo blades and you know, systematically wipe through the green and wipe them out after it sets in. But this, I actually found out, if you reduce it enough with Naptha, which I have here, if you reduce it a 1-to-1 ratio or to 150%, you can actually spray it with a conventional sprayer. Now for me, that can save a lot of time, because just labor alone by filling green by hand can add up. And any way that I can find to be able to apply coatings on all of the sides at once is going to cut my labor time in half. And if I can still get a good quality at the end of it, I'm all for that. And that's what I'm being told about this product here. It dries fairly quick. The recoat time is about 4 hours, depending on your temperature. Today I'm in a garage. I have the temperatures, you know, pretty okay, but it's still a bit on the chilly side. So the dry times are going to be a lot longer. But anyway, the point of today is to show you how to use this product and how to reduce it enough to spray it, and then I'll show you it being sprayed on a cabinetry door. And then I'll show you what it looks like when it dries after wiping out and everything like that. And we'll see what the coverage is like after one coat. We might need another, we might not. I'm hoping that I can reduce this enough to spray it, spray the doors, all sides, let it set, wipe out what I can, and then I can put a coat on top. I'm going to use also from the Sher-Wood line, the Chem Aqua resurfacing primer. I'll throw that on top and then I can sand. You're not supposed to sand this product after you apply it. You want to put another coat on top before you do any sanding. This is natural wood filler that is just going to set in. You wipe it out, you let it do its thing. Once it's cured after 4 hours, recoat over it if you need to. If not, put a coat of primer or paint or something like that on top, and then you can sand. But I'm told that this comes out very smooth and that there shouldn't be too much elbow grease involved. So let's find out. All right, let's get right into it. So what you're going to need to do this job is you're going to need your wood filler, you're going to need some reducer. This is Naptha. You're going to need 2 empty cans so that you can split your products and mix them. To mix them, I'm just going to use some stir sticks. Hopefully I can whip it up good enough to get it to the consistency I need. The reducer should do most of the work there. You're going to need some blades to wipe. I'm going to use one to scoop out. I'm also going to use these guys. These wider ones will probably be more sturdy and helpful to scoop this stuff out into the other can. I'm only going to reduce half of this gallon because I want to see the effects first. First I'm going to reduce it 1 to 1, so I'm going to do 1 part filler, 1 part reducer. So I'm going to do half a gallon and half a gallon. And mix it up and see how that goes through the sprayer. For me, I'm going to use an HVLP sprayer, but I think if you reduce it enough, you can use pretty much whatever sprayer that you want. Don't quote me or fact check me on that, but it does say conventional sprayer on you know, this product's sheet. And of course you're going to need your oak cabinet or whatever open grain, open pore wood that you have or that you're working on. You're also going to want some gloves. And so, once you have all of your items that you need, go ahead and dig right in. Get my gloves on. So this gallon of natural wood filler that I got, this will run you, I think, $81 retail last time I checked. And I don't hear too much information on this. I hear about a lot of other fillers, like Aqua Coat and a couple other ones. A lot of them are water-based, and what happens is when they dry and the water evaporates out of them, it shrinks, and you end up having to do a lot of coats. You know, and depending on your pricing, you know, that might not be feasible for your labor cost. So just to try to cut back on some of this labor cost, this is supposed to cover and fill in less coats. And like I said, if I'm able to spray this and get it on all sides of these while I have them hung, and then let it set and wipe off the excess, I feel that might save me a lot of time, even if I do have to go ahead and do a second or third coat or what have you. I'm getting more done quicker so that I can focus more on prep. That's why I like the system that I use. If you haven't seen my videos on my actual cabinet spraying process, I'll leave a link to that in the description below. I like to hang my doors so that I can work on the front, sides, bottom, tops, everything all at once. Everything gets a full coat all together, and saving in that time on coating opens up more time for me to focus on prep, which is going to raise my quality. So if this can help me do the same thing and I can start offering wood grain filling on cabinetry more often, that's going to be a good game changer for me to be able to provide more and higher quality for these jobs for my clients. All right, so this hasn't been touched in a while, so it's pretty separated. I'm going to go ahead and try to mix this up a bit. Might have to pop the lid back on and shake it up a bit. So it's supposed to be somewhat of a paste, but this is pretty separated. So I don't know how this is going to work out, especially with all this liquid on the top. So if you were to buy this from your Sherwin or paint store provider, they'll mix it up for you, and you shouldn't have this problem. But mine I've had for quite some time, and I haven't got it mixed. You can also see that it's covered in gunk. I guess during shipping, another one broke open next to this one. So lucky for me, I got a discount on it, but it's a bit of a mess right now until I can loosen this up and try to shake it around. All right, apologies for that. The gallon that I had was half liquid and half solid, so I had to struggle and churn some butter to try to mix the stuff up, break it up. But when you go to buy the gallon from your store, they'll mix it up for you, and it'll already be pretty much in like a semi-paste form. Mine just sat too long. I never mixed it. It may have gotten cold, so I had to struggle with that and mix it up. But I think now we're at a good point to where it's to the consistency that you would expect when you purchase it, which is similar to an exterior paint. It's pretty thick. It still has some mobility in it, though. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's pretty good. So now we're at the point where, give it a little spin. Mine has some chunks in it, but once I split this up and I add the reducer to it, some of these chunks should go away. I'm going to keep mixing it and mixing it and mixing it anyway so that it gets as loose as possible. This way I don't have to worry about it clogging up through my sprayer. All right, so we got that. So like I said before, I'm just going to split this in halves. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I had to use one of my empty gallons, but I'm going to take the other empty gallon, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio to get 100% reduction rate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the Naptha first. I'm not using any measuring cups or anything like that, because if you don't know, these ribs on your cans are thirds. So I know that right around here is the halfway point. I'm not super scientific, so I'm not going to go and measure, you know, exact ounces for half a gallon to a half a gallon. But I am, well, maybe I'll go this route. I'll add half of the filler first. And then, yeah, that's real chunky. All right, so we'll go half there. There's half left. Give this a good mix. And when you do have this reduced, you got to make sure to keep shaking this or, you know, mixing it up, because it does want to separate from the catalyst, the binding chemical between the filler and, I guess it's a catalyst. So you're going to not have that separation if you keep mixing it. My problem with my gallon was it was already completely separated, so I had to take a solid and mix it back into the liquid and try to make it back into a paste again. So I'm just going to keep whipping this up pretty good. It's pretty thick. This is almost like churning butter, or, you know, mixing ice cream if you've ever done that the old school way with the bucket of cream. All right. That should be pretty good for right now. So now that I have half filler, I know that I need to bring it the rest of the way to get half a gallon versus half a gallon of reducer. Now I'm going to do this a little bit at a time. Just going to add some. So this guy is about 2/3 full right now. I'm going to go ahead and give it a mix. Once I get it to start combining itself a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on and give it a good old-fashioned shake. You could put like a paint mixer on the end of your drill and whip it up that way if you like, but I feel like that might be a mess, and the one I have is a little bit too big to fit inside of a gallon can. I usually only mix up mud for skim coating after wallpaper or over textured walls or ceilings. So at the moment, we're going to use some sweat. Could use a good core exercise anyway. This is just a cheap folding table, so I didn't want to put too much pressure on here. There is a workbench next to me though, so bang, bang, bang. Pretty good so far. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just bring it the rest of the way. Bring the reducer up to the top. Not a fan of how this pours out of a square can, but I'm gonna bring it almost to the top. All right, that should do it. Gallon versus gallon, there's about half left here, so pretty easy ratios here. Unless you wanted to reduce it to 150, then it's going to take a little bit more of this versus the filler. A little bit of settlement at the bottom. Just going to go ahead and twist it up. Try to get these chunks out. So like I said, I already haven't seen too many videos or just too much information, period, about this Sher-Wood natural filler as far as grain filling. I've heard of some of the epoxies and some of the like the Aqua Coat and some other things that a lot of people tend to use on guitars and such. But not too much on this. And my Sherwin-Williams rep said this is the best option to go because when it dries, it's the closest thing you're going to get to a glass smooth finish. And not once yet has he steered me the wrong way. So I trust him, and we're going to see how this works when I spray it. After seeing how thin it already was before adding the second quarter, I feel pretty confident that spraying this stuff is going to be the best route. All right. I'm highly confident that using the blades with this filler as is will do a good job. So if you're on a small set or you just have like a single piece that you're trying to make solid, I think not reducing it at all and using the blades could work. Maybe add a little bit to thin it a bit. You can even brush this on if you wanted to. The reduction would be, I believe it said 5%, 10%, also depending on your temperature. And also if the temperature is above 85, you wouldn't even use the naphtha. You could just use your standard mineral spirits and reduce it that way and use it. So for the doors, I'm going to spray it. On the cases inside, I'm going to probably take what's left over here and reduce it maybe 5-10%. and brush and roll it onto the cases. So that way it's still, if you haven't seen my videos before, I don't normally spray the cabinet cases inside. I tend to let people still have control over their kitchen for the week or so that we're working. And because really, most of the cases are covered by your doors anyway, so the grain filling isn't as important on the cases to me or to most of my clients. So not having to spray them and still being able to loosen it up enough to brush or roll it, I think will still provide good quality results. So this is ready. The next step would be to introduce this to the HVLP sprayer and start spraying the cabinets here. As you can see on my cabinet doors, I've already shellacked them like I previously stated. You could use this filler prior. I decided to go ahead and shellac it just to block out all the tannins and to get some prep work ahead of time before introducing this. And I know that I'm going to use a surfacing primer afterwards. So getting 90% of my prep work done and then adding the grain filler to fill whatever is left, which isn't a whole lot. I mean, the shellac with the sprayer does good enough. The discoloration you see is because I use steel wool, but again, we're going to cover it with filler, wipe it out. We're going to cover it with resurfacing primer, sand that out, and then we still have 2 coats of the trim enamel that we're going to apply to these guys. So getting all of the work out of the way prior is the best route. But like I said, it's interchangeable if you want to do filler first, then your primer, or vice versa. So stick with me. I'll show you how to spray these out. All right, it's time to spray this stuff out. I have a sample that I'm working on, so I did a little test spray on that. It's really thin, it goes on really heavy, and it's dripping off of that one right now. So I made a couple of little adjustments. If you plan on spraying this stuff, you definitely have to go ahead and do a few test runs and figure out exactly how you want it to come out. You know, so I adjusted how much the flow was letting through, my fan width and everything like that. And I think I have it pretty dialed in. Either way, I'm going to try to run through these and get all of them sprayed. And then I'm going to have to systematically try to wipe the excess off after it sets after a few minutes. So here we go. I'm going to kick this thing on and start spraying these guys out. All right, guys, so there you have it. My closing thoughts on this product is Sher-Wood, well done. This is definitely a game changer. It's definitely something that I have in my tool bag now as far as services I can offer for my cabinet refinishing. A lot of people want the grain filled, and a lot of times it's labor intensive, but now it's not. I think the only thing that I would do different is lay them down when I spray them and let them mostly dry like that so it can soak in and settle into the grain. But either way, it wasn't a huge ordeal for me because I just sprayed a second coat and I got 90+ pore filling. You can see on my sample, the first one is, you can see just the shellac and then the first coat of the filler on it, and you can already see how much grain is filled in that example. In these other examples, you can see that after the 2 coats and then another surfacing primer as well as the 2 top coats of emerald urethane, it's a night and day difference. You can definitely see it on the back side of my sample. The grain is very deep and very visible. That's not always the case with every set, but it's definitely a night and day difference. They look like brand new cabinets that you would never know were even oak to begin with, which is exactly what I'm looking for when I offer this type of service to people. And it doesn't break the bank because I don't have to charge an incredible amount to get it done for people because it's only taking an extra day. I think also what helped me out was it was a bit of a cooler temperature and I didn't listen to the can, and I found a sweet spot where when it's somewhat dry, it's almost like an icing on a cake, and you can either, when it's a little bit softer than that, you can sweep it down with your blades or you can wipe it. And but I took the route of letting it build, letting it get almost dry but not fully cured and hard like cement, and in that way I was able to sand it like nail filler. I think that saved me in the long run because I was able to build it, I was able to cover it. We'll see what the long-term effects are with that, but for now I think it was incredible. I think with, you know, a coat of surfacing primer on top and 2 coats of hardened urethane trim enamel, I don't think anything is going to change with these cabinets. I think they're going to hold up for a long time. And you can see in the examples just a night and day difference that you can get when you use this filler and then you follow your regular protocol of painting cabinets. You can see just the drastic change, and this is just an off-white. This is a creamy off-white, and it just goes with their theme, and it just changed their entire kitchen. If you guys found any value in this video, please smash that like button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down there. I do respond as often as I possibly can. I appreciate any feedback, and let me know some other topics and things you'd like me to cover. Hit the subscribe button. All these things help these videos to keep in circulation so that I can try to get information out to as many people as possible, and so that people can reach back out to me and I can also learn. So until the next one, keep learning, keep teaching.